SAP S/4HANA Cloud, of course, comes pre-delivered with numerous reporting capabilities across all lines of business. And these reporting capabilities can be exposed in the forms of KPI tiles, drill-down reports, analytical reports, embedded SAC stories, just to mention a few. However, it could also be that customers still want to have or still have a need for an additional report that exposes a specific set of data, information that allows them to make a decision. For example, it could be that a customer requires a special report that mashes up two different data sources to expose in the same report, for example, both sales and purchasing information. Or it could also be that the customer has a requirement to marry up data that is being created through transactions as well as data that is being pulled from a custom business object, for example. Whatever the reason, whatever the use case may be, SAP S/4HANA Cloud certainly has all the tools required for customers to not only create their own reports, but also expose them the way they want to, i.e., as I said, in the form of a KPI tile, a report, or even in the form of an OData service if that data requires to be exposed to a third-party system. So there are different ways to expose the data depending on the audience for whom it is intended to be. Now, inevitably, if we are talking about custom report, we also have to talk about data sources. In other words, what is the data source or data sources that I am going to use to create that report so that the decision maker of the organization can make the expected decision, required decision. And up until now in S/4HANA Cloud, you would probably have used the View Browser application to identify those CDSs that could give you the data you needed. And you would have done this search on the basis of a technical field name or table name or just an English description. For example, sales orders, to identify those CDSs that would serve up the information that you were looking for. However, the View Browser is only going to get you so far, and by that I mean that the View Browser is going to tell you what CDSs make up a CDS, and or what are the technical field names that are exposed in that CDS that you are looking at. What that will not do is give you an appreciation for the data that it holds. You don't know if, for example, a field that is indicated is really populated with some information, and is it the information that you're looking for? Yes, I take your point that in the View Browser you can view data, but for those CDSs, only the ones that are marked as queries will give you that ability to view the data. So you've identified a list of potential CDSs that are going to serve up the information that you need. What you would have then done is probably gone to the custom CDS application, created a CDS with a particular scenario in mind, and then once in the CDS creation mode per se, the first thing that you would have needed to do is select the primary data source, knowing that in a custom CDS you can have one primary and multiple secondary sources joined together. But right off the bat, what I can also see here is that I have just over 5,000 CDSs available to me to create my own custom CDS now. Now, knowing that I've got about 200 custom CDSs in the system already, that leaves me with about 5,000 standard CDSs. Anyway, what you would then do is, based on the CDSs that you had previously identified in the View Browser, you would then create a custom CDS with the CDS of interest. And what you would have then done is you would have gone to the Elements tab and added the elements, the fields that you think are the ones that you need to create your custom report. Then once you would have done your selection, you would have had to publish this report in order to be able to preview the content, the data that is held in that CDS. Now, of course, it probably means that there is an iterative trial and error process here where you would pick elements, publish, preview, look at the data. Is it what I need? No. Go back, remove some fields, add some new ones, publish, preview again. Is it what I need? Yes, great. So it might have been somewhat longer than you would want it to be. Now, thankfully, with the 208 release of SAP S/4HANA Cloud, there is a new application that has been delivered, which is called Customer Data Browser. Now, this particular application, I should, on the outset, say that it is part of scope item 5I9, which is, more broadly speaking, about customer data return. So that gives you an indication of what that application is meant to be used for. If I go into the application, the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get a disclaimer, as you can see here. And this disclaimer is essentially saying that the authorization concept doesn't really apply in this application. It's not going to filter the data and be mindful of your data privacy protection policies that exist within your organization. So, word of warning, if there are such policies that apply within your organization, make sure that the people that can access this application are mindful and entrusted to actually use this application. So once you've accepted the disclaimer and we go to the CDS views, also note right off the bat that the number of CDS views that are available here are just shy of 1,600 compared to the 5,000 that I had in my custom CDS application. So that already tells you that I'm not going to be able to view all the CDSs that exist in the system via this application. However, the data that you can see here should be enough to give you a leg up in what you'll do in the custom CDS application. So again, I'm just going to pick the I sales order and sales, plural, sales order. So we have all of the CDSs that contain I sales order that have been filtered. What you can also note here is that we have the type. So we've got basic, composite, and transactional types of CDSs. Basic is obviously a clear pull of a table. Composite is a makeup of 2 or more tables, for example. So if I go into the I sales order, and this is where the interesting part is going to kick in. If I go into I sales order, boom, right off the bat, you can see that the data content of that CDS is immediately exposed and made available to me. Some of the great things that you also have in this particular application is that you can obviously customize the report to pull in or pull out all of the fields that you are interested in to verify the data content. So I said you can go ahead and pick all the fields that you want, or you can take out the ones that you don't need. So right off the bat, that's a bit of a time saver, a big time saver in fact, because right there I can already have all of the data content. What you can also do here is you can flip between English or normal language names and the technical names. Again, that's also going to help you with regards to identifying additional CDSs in the view browser, potentially also looking at the fields in the custom CDS application. Another great thing here as well is that you can adapt the filters. Now, as I said, in the custom CDS application, it could sometimes be that you'd be overwhelmed with the amount of information that was exposed there. And let's say in my case, I'm looking for sales order information. I might have wanted in the custom CDS app to restrict the data presented in the preview based on just one sales order. And in the custom CDS app, obviously you need to add a little bit of code to make that restriction. But here, what you can do is you can simply adapt the filters, pick the filter that you're interested in. So in this case, it would be the sales order number. And I could restrict the output to just that one piece of leading information that I was looking for. The other great thing here as well is that you can export it to Excel, because if you are going to be designing a, shall we say, complex CDS that is going to require the joining of 2 or more CDSs together, then obviously you want to be able to identify those fields that you can leverage to join 2 CDSs together, making sure that the information is going to be coherent and identical in 2 or more 3DSs for those fields that you've selected to be the joins. And then lastly, which is something also that is potentially somewhat reminiscent of the SE16 transaction, for those of you that are familiar with it, you can click on total records, and that is going to give you a total number of records in that particular CDS. So in this case here, it would tell me that I have just shy of 1,300 sales orders in the system. So there you go. A new application that should hopefully help you in the development of your custom report to identify the correct data sources and fast track the identification of the data where it is in those CDSs. But of course, be mindful of that disclaimer, which is that from a data privacy protection point of view, make sure that you only have entrusted people within your organization that are going to be using this application. So there you go. Until next time, stay safe.